G'day guys, Jack here with Ninja. We're going to go through a little bit of a runner's flush for the lower body. So I've been doing a lot of running training myself, getting ready for the Great Ocean Road half marathon in May. So I've got about 6 weeks left to go. And I've been kind of getting a lot of people who are also training for this or similar kinds of events coming in to see me lately. And just noticing some similarities in what I'm experiencing and what I'm getting worked on in my own body and being able to utilize that with them. So I thought I'd share with you guys a little bit today what some of that might look like. So I'm going to start by just giving Ninja a little bit of a flush through the hips. So when we're running, ideally, we want a lot of that movement to actually be coming from the hips. We want to really be utilizing our glute muscles really, really well. A lot of people, if you're overstriding, so like when you're running or even when you're walking, if your foot is landing in front of your hip, then you're going to be utilizing a lot more of your anterior hip muscles, so like your hip flexors and your quads, and you're actually overworking them a little bit in that case. Most of that movement should actually come from the hip, and you want see if I can turn so you can catch this, you actually want the most of the movement to be this, your hip extending, those glutes firing up and pushing your leg back into extension rather than the real swing through from the front. Obviously you need strength there as well. You need to be able to bring that through, but most of that movement, whoops, cut that bit out please mate. Most of that you want to actually be coming from the hip because you've got this big powerful joint, right? With these big powerful muscles. You've got 3 or 4, maybe even 5, if I can remember my anatomy correctly, different layers of muscles stacked on top of each other. You've got these huge, powerful muscles coming through here, wrapping into your ITB, wrapping into your lower leg. You want to utilize them. You want them to be the things that are driving you forward and that to be where your power is coming from. So I'm just starting off with I'm actually going for a second little deeper stroke through here on Ninja. So I'm tracing along the posterior edge of his iliac crest, so the lower side of his hip bone. And this is where your glute max, your glute med, your glute minimus, all of those big glute muscles attach from, where they originate from. And I'm gonna catch some more of those glute max fibers now by just following Ninja's sacrum down. Just gonna bring this down a little bit. And so I'm gonna hook in again, with Ninja's hip bone is here, his sacrum starts about here, and I'm just gonna sink my palm in and just trace down the edge of his sacrum so I can catch all the rest of those glute fibers, those glute tendons, but also getting into some of the deeper muscles like his external rotators, the piriformis, which if you've ever had any issues with pain running down your leg, you'd probably be very familiar with. So we're just gonna work our way through that. And I'd probably use a bit of an elbow here if I was gonna get in even deeper. I'm not gonna subject Ninja to that today. We're just gonna work relatively quickly through all the different areas that I would do in a bit of a maintenance treatment for someone who's, kind of in the midst of their running training. Because a lot of the time as well, especially if someone's in a bit of a training routine and there's no major issues, you're just kind of getting some of that tension build up between sessions, between runs. What you actually want to be doing is just maintaining more of that flushing movement. You don't really need to be sinking in so deep or smashing it as hard because you don't want to interrupt the training process. That said, I'm going to use a bit of an elbow, mostly for the sake of the camera here, to get onto the top of Ninja's femur. How's the connection going there, man?
Yeah, good. I was about to say, mate, it's a bit in there.
Bit in there? Need me to lighten that up a little bit? Or
No, it's good. It's really good.
Cool. Good. So just, again, tracing through the other part of this joint, through the head of the femur, top of the leg bone, and just tracing that around. Again, I'd probably use more of a palm for this. It's just a little bit hard to get a good angle for it from this side so you guys can see where we're going. But yeah, the bone is right, the head of the bone is right in here. Can feel that underneath the edge of my elbow, and I'm just wrapping my wrapping my elbow all the way around that, bringing it towards the front of the hip. Just sinking through there. So we'd probably do a couple of passes through that, getting deeper each time, but again, not like, and working into any adhesed parts or areas of stagnation that we find, much like we would do with, a more general MMT style treatment. I'm going to move on to Ninja's hamstrings now as well, because the hamstrings also help with hip extension. So they're helping the glutes to do their thing. They're also moving the knee. They're also doing this knee flexion movement as well. And they also provide quite a bit of support to the knee joint itself from the posterior side. It's one of those areas that tends to get really tight on people who are running quite a lot, similar to the calves. It's a very posterior chain dominant activity. And so we want to make sure that they're able to extend and lengthen as well as contract. It's one of the main reasons you want to be making sure that your body is loose and that you're keeping on top of not letting that tension build up too highly when you're training, is you don't want it to start to get in the way or impede the actual power that you've got in those joints and in the opposite side. So if your hamstrings are too tight, then your quads are going to have to work that much harder to allow your knee to straighten back out, to extend your knee back out and get your stride to come all the way through, because this side's going to want to stay short and locked on. So you end up using a lot of your power just to make your joints go through their normal range of movement, rather than actually getting the full use out of your body. Just going for a broader sweep down the hammies here as well. Holding up all right there, Ninja?
Yeah, really good, thanks, man.
Awesome.
Doing good.
Fantastic. So those first two strokes, we were just tracing each different part of the hamstring. So one down to the lateral aspect of the knee, one down to the medial, and now this one's just a broader stroke to really flush all the way through. Just really catching all the fibers, making the leg twitch there. It's always a good sign.
Mm-hmm.
And just bringing that all the way down to the knee. Going to get into the calf a little bit now. So depending on what someone has going on, I might do like a little bit of work on their Achilles, maybe getting a little bit of stretching through there. Digging my thumbs in a little bit. If you're getting pain around your Achilles or in this lower part, this is one of those areas where it's pretty good to actually do some of that more pinpoint work. So just sinking in there, holding for a little bit, maybe doing some little scoops like this, even like right down the bottom here around the actual insertion onto the calcaneus, onto the ankle bone. Or heel bone rather, is probably a better thing to call that. Just sinking into anywhere it feels like there's a bit of like niggling pain or feels like there's a little bit of stuck tissue. Because it's mostly tendon and fascia at that point, there's layers of muscle underneath it. You've got so many muscles inserting into the Achilles tendon. Sometimes you really just need to get really specific in there and dig some of those things out, despite it being a more flushing style treatment, so that they can actually move that out and then get these broader strokes. Just taking advantage of that now to get my pisiform into either side of Ninja's Achilles tendon and just sweep that up through those big powerful calf muscles. Just pulling it all the way up. And really sinking in and using that pisiform on my wrist to be a bit of a scoop, do a bit of a dredge through some of those deeper aspects without nailing it too hard and putting Ninja potentially out of action for a day or two while he recovers. All right, Ninja. That's for the posterior body. So just get you to flip over, mate. Just keep as much of your decency as we can.
Yeah.
Although with that angle, I don't know how much of that is being preserved.
Oh.
There we go. It's all out in the open now.
Yeah.
Just give you that there, mate.
Oh, thanks, man.
Head up for a sec. There you go. Get nice and comfy.
Thanks for looking after me.
Absolutely. Wouldn't dream of doing anything else.
Yeah.
All right, so we're going to get into Ninja's quads now. Just going to start again, just start up top, kind of get as close to the bone as I can. So I'm actually going to pull this up so I can get right onto the front of Ninja's hip bone, onto the ASIS. And
Good.
yeah, you can feel it straight away, getting right onto that tendon.
Good connection.
And just sweeping it all the way down. Sorry, Ninja.
No, you're right.
Again, yeah, using that pisiform to really dig in a little bit deeper and the rest of my palm to just explore, find anywhere that feels stuck. Again, quads tight, you might be getting some pain around the knee as well, particularly either just below or just above the kneecap. Can really get quite nasty sometimes, particularly on those longer stretches. I'm just keeping in mind that the structure of the quadriceps as I'm working through here as well. So it's a combination of 4 different muscles or 4 different origins. So I've got the rectus femoris running down the middle, vastus medialis, vastus lateralis, and then underneath it all, vastus medialis.
Just a little question for you, Jack.
Yeah, fire away, man.
In your own body, and what is the trend out there for the runner? You know, the guy that does the 5, 10, 20k runs. Where are they more sore? What kind of gets more agitated? You know, what's your experience with that?
It tends to depend. It depends a little bit on. It depends a little bit on the distance because they're quite different. They're all quite different things. You sort of rely a little bit more heavily on different parts of your body. You know, if you're going for the shorter distances and you're focusing on being really, really fast in those shorter distances, you're probably more likely to get some things going on, sometimes even through your adductors, through that medial aspect of the leg, because you're kind of using that more explosive power, and that pulls on the groin muscles a little bit. Of course, all of this can affect you, right? Like regardless of what style of running you get.
So when you say shorter, is that 1k or 100 meters or
1 to 5k's?
1 to 5
typically.
is shorter, yeah.
Yeah, it's all relative, isn't it?
Yeah, because we
short
do.
to use 50 meters.
Yeah, or, you know, we do lots of 10 meter and 20 meter runs. So
there you go, right?
so
it's
we
quite
race,
different things.
Yeah, very, very different
Yeah,
kind of systems, isn't it? And
yeah, 100%.
muscle usage and forces and the length of the forces. Like we've got a lot of impulse forces where you got more time on the ground when you're kind of running slower, but more, you know, enduring.
Yeah, for longer periods. The calves are the ones that tend to go the most, either like calves or even hammies. That's where people tend to get cramps and, you know, kind of have a lot of tension build up because they're just working really bloody hard through those areas.
Yep.
You know, especially if you're not warming up properly or anything like that. But yeah, like I said, you know, all of these areas that we're working on today, the hips and the glutes, the quads, the hammies, the calves. I'm even going to get into a little bit of the perineals here as well. So just finishing off that stroke down there. If someone's, just quickly aside, if someone's getting a little bit of pain below the knee as well, I'll probably do a little bit more kind of pinpoint work into wherever they're feeling that. So it might be, you know, really connecting in with that knee bone or kneecap bone, rather the patella, or like right down on that tibial tuberosity, maybe scooping that up and through, maybe even kind of cleaning out in these, through these sides into those lateral ligaments around the knee. But it all just depends on where the pain is and what's aggravating it and all that kind of thing. So I'm going to take another big sweep down through Ninja's perineals. Just going to really connect in on the line of the shin bone and just scoop that all the way down. Yeah, most common area people mostly feel issues, or one of the first place issues tend to show up is in the calves or in the ankles. But it depends a lot on your biomechanics as well, right? Like if you're running on your toes, your calves are gonna blow up super fast. Yeah. And a lot of it has to do with managing your training load effectively as well, right? Like if you step up from, if you jump from doing like, I guess it's the same with sprints, right? If you start off going from a 10-meter sprint and then just go and smash out 3 or 4 juds, you're probably going to feel pretty crap afterwards. That's going to strain your body in a lot of ways that it's not used to. Similar kind of thing, if you start off and you're running maybe like 2 or 3 kilometers a couple of times a week, and then you're like, fuck it, I'm going to go and do a big one, and you smash out, a 5K, a 6K and a 10K in a week, you're going to feel pretty rubbish because you're kind of overloading quite quickly, and your body doesn't have a chance to adapt properly. So you want to build it up more incrementally. Yeah. Take every like 4th or 5th week or so, have a little bit of a taper, and come back down, then build back up again from there. Give your body a chance to recover and actually like utilize all the strength you've been building.
Yeah. So you kind of periodize your training, and like you said, if you did 3 5K runs in a week, after 6 months of training, it's going to be piss compared to at the start. You'd try and do that, you probably might even get injured and break down. And
totally, 100%, man, 100%.
You've got to build up to things. And
exactly. So the last area I'm going to treat on Ninja right now is we're just going to go in and do a little bit through his hip flexor. So again, just finding that hip bone right in here and just sinking off into the iliacus. And I can feel that reacting and kind of coming online pretty quickly. Kind of landing on a bit of a spot there, Ninja.
Yeah, that's good. It's therapeutic.
That's it. And if I'm feeling really nasty, I might get Ninja to wiggle his leg from side to side, or even drag his foot along the table. Really get it activating. Yep. Yeah. Just get a bit of active release through there as well. If it's really, really tight, I might even get him to bring his other leg up and put his leg on the table. Yep, just to kind of offload through the hip a little bit there. Going to give him a feeling like a little bit more stability.
Whoa.
Yeah.
That was a bit, doesn't it?
Gets pretty gnarly, doesn't it?
Yeah, it feels like you're going into a sinkhole or something.
Yeah, absolutely, man.
Goes
absolutely.
deep.
But that's a good thing, right? Mm-hmm. Like, some people, if you've been training really hard or you haven't had work on this area in a while or both, like as soon as you put you kind of identify the ASIS, the front of the hip bone, and you drop off it, and as soon as you touch it, it just goes boom, like straight away. You don't even have to sink in, like just the lightest pressure will be enough to feel it quite strongly. And it can be quite excruciating as well. And, if this gets tight, it's one of those things that can, again, that's going to mean that your hips are going to get tight, like your back of your hips are going to get tight, so your glutes are going to tighten up. It could even translate into lower back pain and those kinds of things. So you want to make sure you're keeping on top of maintaining a lot of this and keeping your body loose and limber and ready to do the activities that you're trying to do. So that's a bit of a basic maintenance treatments that I do for runners, and one that I get done frequently myself. If you're running a lot, if you're thinking about getting into it, or if you just feel like you're a bit tight through the lower legs, this is also good for people who spend a lot of time at a desk like myself, studying all that kind of thing. You're kind of locked up, those legs aren't moving as freely as they probably should be, or as frequently as they should be. Jump on down, book in, come and see us, we'll get you sorted out pretty quick smart. Thanks guys.
Done.